I did a video yesterday on the comeback of David Haye. If I start a story, I like to finish it, so I'm going to do a second video on it now with some new news. I do promise I'll try and keep this one briefer than the one I subjected you all to yesterday. The comeback of David Haye actually does look more on than it's off. We've had this before with David Haye several times, and you know, it's always been a will he, won't he kind of thing for those who even still have an interest. But right now, I must admit, I'm inclined to think he will. He's appointed a new trainer, Shane Mcguigan. Obviously, he works with Carl Frampton and has got some praise for the way he's handled that training. And there's videos of David Haye being released. I think there was one on the Lad Bible today, bizarrely, of him training and, you know, etc. Barry McGuigan's tweeted out that David Haye's in the gym. David Haye looks to be in excellent shape. And it appears some, you know, dedication from David Haye if he's relocating, if he's basing himself with the McGuigans. And yeah, presumably he wouldn't be doing that unless he was very, very serious about making a return. On to what this means, the news of the McGuigans specifically. First and foremost, the fact that he's working with the McGuigans doesn't necessarily mean he's tied to one promoter or another, or one manager or another. What I would say is, as we know, the McGuigans work with Haymon. And it's been rumoured substantially that Haymon is very, very interested in David Haye. Also, David Haye seems to be keen to get in the ring with Deontay Wilder, who's controlled by Haymon. So, you know, potentially there's a link there. There's also another angle to consider, which is, how will this affect Eddie Hearn? I mean, David Haye is arguably the biggest name in British boxing. You know, I mean, some of the statistics would certainly suggest that, I guess. And Eddie Hearn has historically enjoyed a relatively decent relationship with David Haye. I guess what he's got to be thinking is, with him, you know, locked in all-time bad blood with the McGuigans and with Team Frampton and that side of things, and this is bad blood that's been building and building and building through the recent Scott Quigg, Carl Frampton build-up. Is there potential that the McGuigans managing, or not managing, sorry, but the McGuigans working with David Haye has the potential to spoil that? I mean, what you've got to look at is, if the McGuigans are training David Haye for a comeback, what channel are his shows going to be shown on? You know, if it's not going to be Sky, and if it's not going to be Box Nation, and to be honest, it's unlikely to be Box Nation, isn't it? Then I think there's a likelihood that David Haye could possibly be on the new PBC shows that are rumoured to be debuting in 2016. Potentially ITV, Channel 5, BT Sports, you know, these are the names being mentioned. And David Haye is that kind of marquee fighter who could lead PBC in the UK if he was to start working with Haymon. One final thought, Eddie Hearn's talked in several interviews about matching his fighters with McGuigan fighters on the undercard of Quigg Frampton. Now, I know David Haye is a very, very, very big name for fighting on an undercard. And I know that Quigg and Frampton are going to take up the vast majority of the purses. But is there, you know, I talked yesterday about Bellew versus Haye. And whilst I was kind of saying, you know, don't rule that fight out, I did see it as a main event type fight. Is there a remote possibility David Haye versus Tony Bellew could be matched up? McGuigan versus a Hearn fighter on the Frampton Quigg undercard? I personally doubt it. I think Frampton and Quigg would somewhat be overshadowed by that fight. But you never know, it's not impossible. I'm interested to hear people's thoughts on this. Are you excited for the return of the Haymaker? And are you like me? Do you think that it's finally getting to the point where we're going to see David back in the ring? Thanks for watching.